Ladies and gentlemen, we have made it. We have made it to the point where Belal, remember the decision Muhammad, every MMA fan's lord and savior, is headlining a pay-per-view as the defending champion. What a world we live in. And can he defend it against Jack Della Maddalena at UFC 315 in Montreal, Canada this weekend? This is going to be a pretty good card on paper. It's all right compared to what we've had previously with 314, 313, but I do believe there are some fun matchups in this one. I think it's going to be one of the most underrated pay-per-views of this year because we've got Valentina Shevchenko taking on arguably, honestly, her hardest opposition she's ever faced in Manon Fiorot. And we have also got Jose Aldo taking on Aiemann Zahabi down the card as a very nice boxing fight. And then we've got, kicking off the main card, Benoit Saint Denis taking on Kyle Prepolec, which he should be making this win a rebound faster than he can go from girl to girl.
Good luck. You're gonna need it.
And with that excitement being said, we are going to be predicting and breaking down every single fight on the card and also predicting all of the fight card awards. So without further ado, let's kick it off with the first fight of Katona versus Bekzat Almakhan. Now, looking at Bekzat Almakhan, this guy in his last fight almost took Umar Nurmagomedov's head off in the first round, dropped him and almost finished him. He did a very good job within that first round on his debut as well, which is a serious fight to take. So we know he's got balls, but looking after that first round moment where he almost chinned Umar, he got dominated with the Sambo wrestling of Umar, which granted, Umar, very high level Sambo base, and Katona isn't that higher level, but Katona, the guy has got the experience here. He's got the higher strike accuracy. He's got more volume. He's got more output overall. And granted, he needs to be extremely careful of Bekzat's hands, 100%. The KO power this guy possesses, 9-0 with KOs, is no joke. But Katona at the same time, this guy has never been finished for a good reason. He is defensively sound, doesn't stay in the pocket too long, is very, very aware of where he is in the cage at pretty much all times. So he can get tagged, but he never really gets tagged by those big power shots where they're just really planting their feet. And that's something that Bekzat does do. Now, Katona getting this to the ground, Bekzat's just not going to have the answers. He's just transitionally just not ideal at all, to be honest. From what I've seen of him so far, Katona just needs to watch out for the KO power realistically, because he does have the volume, he's got the strike accuracy overall, and when it comes to the ground game and the wrestling, he's very good positionally. He's very good at actually just controlling, and that is the key in this matchup, because it's either going to be Bekzat knocking Katona's head off in the first round, or Katona drowning him out across 3 rounds. And that is what I believe is going to happen. Katona's just got too much experience against these guys that do have a lot of power there. And he's faced these guys that are a bit taller, that have that longer reach as well. He's one of the guys that has the shortest reach in bantamweight as well. So he's used to that. And Katona has to make up for that with his fight IQ, which is going to come into play in this fight really well for a 30-27 decision with that pure wrestling and volume on the outside. Moving up to Daniel Santos versus JeongYeong Lee. Now, this is going to be an interesting fight because JeongYeong Lee, he is the one that is pretty much fully prepared for this fight card. Daniel Santos is coming in on short notice, but regardless, it's going to be very close because Santos does have very nice striking. He's got very nice Muay Thai. He's good with managing the distance. He's quite a patient fighter. But at the same time, being patient, he is also someone that doesn't show a whole lot of urgency, which against Arce in his debut is what lost him that fight especially. And that's with Arce being so active, especially just pressing him like the whole entire time, whether it comes to the ground game or whether it comes to being on the feet. And that's a similar style that JeongYeong Lee does have. And JeongYeong Lee, don't get me wrong, this guy literally is coming off a Hyder Emil TKO loss in the first round. So he might have a few cobwebs upstairs and a bit of rust there. But Santos, I just don't like the lack of urgency within his game. Granted, he's gotten very nice Muay Thai. He took out Castaneda as well, which is not easy to do. But I will say that I do like JeongYeong Lee in terms of just the overall MMA game a bit better. He's got a higher strike accuracy. He's got a lower output, but a higher strike accuracy. So he's just more accurate overall with his shots, no matter the situation, to be honest. And the wrestling overall, I do like a bit more from him. And the ground game does even out a bit more, but when it comes to actual control, JeongYeong Lee, I think, is a little bit better. I think he's just got the tools here to be able to get this one done, and he's got a much longer reach too. And with that accuracy, with the jab, I think that might cause some problems for Daniel Santos. But I do see this being a decision for Lee, but I honestly think it could be 29-28. I think Lee will most likely win the second and third rounds. I think Daniel Santos coming through the first round with the volume that he has, lands twice the amount of volume and throws twice the amount of strikes. I think that he can really pick up in that first round. And JeongYeong Lee, I think after that Haider Emil fight, I don't think he wants to go balls to the wall straight out that first round and leave that strike defense just in the wind. I think he's going to take it a little bit more slowly and then carry through the second and third round more and use that lack of urgency completely against Daniel Santos to steal a decision win here. Moving up to Marc-Andre Barriault versus Bruno Silva. Now, Marc-Andre Barriault, the guy's not having a good time, to be honest. I mean, he's taken a shit ton of damage against Joe Pyfer. He's lost to Dustin Stoltzfus very bad by KO TKO as well. And I don't think Canada is going to be having a good time in terms of this matchup, because Bruno Silva, even though the guy is literally statistically the complete epitome of being dog shit on the ground, 0-7 with subs, but on the flip side, the guy has got power, he's got durability, and Barriault used to. But his chin is not holding up anymore compared to Bruno's. And Bruno, honestly, if he can keep this on the feet, which Marc-Andre Barriault just doesn't have much of a ground game threat at all to really just stifle Bruno's striking game, I think in the first round, I'm not going to be surprised. Higher accuracy, I think he's just going to be able to chin Marc-Andre Barriault. Barriault's chin is just not going to be able to take that punishment. And yeah, I think he's going out cold again. Moving up the card to Navajo Stirling versus Ivan Erslan. Now, this is a fight where I think someone is most likely getting chinned pretty much straight away, just like Barriault versus Silva. This is good from the matchmakers. I do like it, and it is kind of on the cusp of the rankings as well. I think that any big knockout here could give a very strong push towards those rankings. Now, Stirling, granted, loves city kickboxing. He's a great kickboxer himself. He's got a lot of power in his kicks. He's got nice check hooks as well. But against Tuko Tokos, I wasn't super impressed with his performance. And I think Tuko Tokos really just stifled him a lot of the time with the change of distance. The change of distance, just really trying to just grab a hold of him, just stay in that clinch exchange, really just try and bloody survive. I don't know how Tuko Tokos is in the UFC, but just trying to survive there, as well as try to utilize boxing range, which he found a little bit of success in the boxing range. But aside from that, he was just surviving against Stirling, and Stirling realistically should have gotten him out of there. He was like a 5-1 favorite, but there's just not much you can do when a guy is just glued to you. So that is where he didn't have like the greatest just performance by eye. But when we look at Ivan Erslan on the other side, this guy is definitely better than Tuko Tokos, that's for sure. And when we look at Ivan, he is a kill or be killed fighter. He's a guy that just has a lot of power in his hands, 10-1 with KOs. He is definitely vicious when it comes to the boxing range, and the guy loves the forward pressure. And I will say, if Stirling had any ounce of actual wrestling here, I would be taking him 100%, because we saw what happened with Ivan against Ion Cutelaba, which was a split decision, but Ivan did show holes in the wrestling realistically. But that's not going to be the case here. From what we've seen, Stirling is not that adept when it comes to offensive wrestling, and you don't really get that heavily out of city kickboxing anyway, so we're not expecting it. And Ivan Erslan, the big thing that I like about him here, granted he's got a 7-inch reach disadvantage, and if this stays at kickboxing range, I think Ivan Erslan's getting knocked out. But Ivan Erslan with that pressure and the ability to get into boxing range, I like his chances more within the shorter distance. Now, if Ivan Erslan uses fight IQ, he should be getting this one done, which I believe he will. I think he's just going to be able to find the mark against Stirling, to be honest, in that boxing range. He's just got those very fast hands, heavy hands within that range, and he's got a lot more experience too. So he's fought guys that are very heavy strikers like Stirling at kickboxing range as well, and he's always done a pretty good job of really cutting off that distance. But if he doesn't, I will say it right now, Stirling is going to chin him. So it's a chin or be chin, but I think Erslan has got the ability there to close it off and get a, honestly, probably a late first round KO TKO in this one. Moving up to Cutelaba versus Modestas Bukauskas. Now this, honestly, I definitely agree, should be very close. This should be pick'em odds because it really comes down to the point of whether Cutelaba can get this to the ground or not. Because Modestas Bukauskas, he is a better striker for sure, much more technical, has better just overall accuracy within and volume as well. He is just naturally a better striker. He's got more reach as well. Cutelaba in recent fights though, why it's more close to actually him being the favorite is because he has looked good. He's adjusted well. He's adjusted his wrestling game well. He's not just a guy that's got his brain, pegged it all the way across the room, and is not using an ounce of fight IQ. He's actually used it in his last couple of fights. He's taken the fight to the ground against Ivan Erslan, who we just spoke about, as well as also pacing himself on the feet. He's utilizing jabs for once. You know, he's utilizing decent strikes there. But against Bukauskas, and I think with the momentum that Bukauskas does have at the moment, I mean, he absolutely destroyed Sakara in his last fight. Really nice, accurate striking on that front foot, especially with the shots to the body, getting the hooks in close. I just like him a bit more at the moment, and you just never can fully trust in Cutelaba's fight IQ. You really can't. And that's something that I just really don't want to be doing here. And Bukauskas, I think that his takedown defense overall can keep up with Cutelaba. And I do believe if Bukauskas is showing what he has been showing recently, he is going to be able to beat Cutelaba in the exchanges, but he's going to maintain distance, utilize the jab, picking him apart on the outside until we get through to the second or third round. And if it really does pay off for him there, I think he's going to be able to get the KO TKO finish here. I just like his strike accuracy a bit more than Cutelaba's, and just his confidence within the combinations more too. Granted, Cutelaba, if he gets this to the ground and is able to somehow hold him down completely, he can win this fight for sure, but I just don't see it happening. I think Bukauskas is getting this one done late. Moving up the card to Jessica Andrade versus Jasmin Jasudavicius. Now, Jasudavicius, honestly, she is Canada's spearhead at the moment. I've been going on about this pretty much the whole entire time this channel has been alive, which if you've seen before, you've definitely heard it. Jasmin Jasudavicius, she is rightfully Canada's spearhead. She has performance after performance after performance, and for the love of God, she should be above Mike Malott. Honestly, Jasmin Jasudavicius should be on the main card of this card, you know? I just don't see why she is on the prelims here. Honestly, I think that with the performances that she has shown, she should be up there. I mean, what she did against Priscilla Cachoeira absolutely destroyed her with ground and pound. I mean, against Fatima Klein, who was a favorite as well, dominated her. I mean, she's looked great in pretty much all of her recent fights, and she's not even young as well. I mean, 30. I don't know how she is older than Jessica Andrade. Jessica Andrade, you feel like should be like fucking 40 right now. Just nuts. And Jessica Andrade, never really like her at flyweight. Honestly, she switches between strawweight and flyweight, and Jessica Andrade just gets dominated realistically. Like most of the time at flyweight, she's getting dominated. She's just not strong enough. She's not strong enough in the exchanges when it comes to wrestling. I mean, look what Erin Blanchfield did to her. Just absolutely mauled her and submitted her. And honestly, I think that that's the exact same thing that can happen in this fight, because the wrestling style of Jasudavicius, it's just perfect. It's perfect against Andrade stylistically. I mean, granted, she's got to be careful of Andrade's power on the feet, but Jasudavicius is very durable. She's never been finished, and she's been tagged before, but she's never been taken out. She's very gritty, but on the ground, she is a nightmare. She is just going to be able to out-transition, use her strength to control Andrade, and I ultimately think she's going to be able to find a rear naked choke finish in this fight. I think she's going to find it in the second to most likely the third round after just draining Andrade's gas tank. Andrade, I think, is just going to make some form of mistake in the framing to get back up because she's got nothing on the ground in comparison to Jasudavicius. And Jasudavicius is going to take advantage and get a nice finish win in Canada, which should have been on the main card. Now moving up to Mike Malott versus Charles Radke. Now, I do think Jasmin Jasudavicius should be above Mike Malott, as I said, but I will say this matchup I do like from the matchmakers. I think they did a good job here because obviously both of them are around the same skill level, to be honest. And also, this is most likely not going to a decision. These guys are very, very strong finishers. I mean, Charles Radke, in his last fight, destroyed Semmelsberger within like 50 seconds. Like, absolutely annihilated him with the striking. And that's where Radke, honestly, if he's not going against a guy like Carlos Prates, who is kneeing his solar plexus into like 3 different pieces, then he is looking really good. He is a good fighter. He's got good wrestling. He's got a lot of confidence on the front foot with his boxing, and he's got an underrated jiu-jitsu based game too. And then when we look at Mike Malott on the other side, Malott, I'm just not a huge fan of him, to be honest. Like, I think that he is extremely overrated overall compared to, like, you know, with what a lot of people have said. And I think a lot of people have just put a lot of pressure on Mike Malott because he is, like, one of the only male Canadians that's actually doing anything, along with, like, Aiemann Zahabi. And aside from that, I mean, there's just realistically not much there from Canada, and Malott was kind of the spearhead, which Jasmin Jasudavicius is definitely the spearhead over him. But Mike Malott, the thing is, like, aside from his BJJ game, which is very good, and I will say he's got an edge over Charles Radke. I mean, since the Neil Magny loss, I mean, he was looking great against Neil Magny, but with that loss, he obviously choked it at the end. And going against Trevin Giles in his last fight, it was a shit fight. It was super slow, really boring. I mean, Malott only threw like a couple body kicks realistically. Trevin Giles was doing absolutely nothing, so it's not all Malott's fault. But Malott used no boxing. I mean, he doesn't look great with the hands. It doesn't look great in that boxing range. And Radke, looking at what he did against Semmelsberger, I'm pretty confident we can get a pretty nice underdog win here. I think Radke can take Mike Malott out when it comes to that boxing range. Radke, against guys that aren't like Prates, who have ridiculous power and that force there, he's very confident and he's very good with his striking. I think Radke can definitely get it done. And also Radke is a bit better with the actual wrestling as well. And that's where I think Mike Malott isn't going to have the easiest time getting Radke into a position that he wants to try and hunt a submission. And aside from that, unless Malott can really just put on a clinic at kickboxing range, I think Radke is going to chin him within the first 2 rounds. Now moving on to our main card, we have got Benoit Saint Denis versus Kyle Prepolec, which is not Joel Alvarez, which is absolutely kicking me in the nuts because that was one of my most anticipated fights of this year. That fight would have been insane. But Joel Alvarez obviously has moved up to welterweight now, which I think is another kick in the nuts because honestly, granted, the weight cut for him would have been very difficult because he was an absolutely colossal lightweight. I mean, he was huge, an absolute monster. And that weight cut, I'm sure, was very difficult, but he's losing a lot of those, you know, advantages, the physical advantages he does have in the division, and he was looking borderline flawless as well. Obviously, there's the Arman Sarukian loss he had, which he didn't lose by any form of like full domination or anything. He more so lost, granted, which was credit to Arman. Arman cut him open so badly to the point where he just literally was blind. So yeah, I mean, you couldn't do anything about that, but yeah, it really just showed he's only lost to a guy that's in the top 5 and which literally challenging for the title at UFC 311. So my Joel Alvarez rant is over, but I will say Benoit Saint Denis is lucky. He would have, I honestly am very confident he would have got finished by Joel Alvarez. Now, moving into this fight, though, he does have pressure on him for completely different reasons, because Kyle Prepolec He's a $7 underdog. That is ridiculous. I mean, ridiculously fair enough, because Prepolec just is not good. Like, he's not good. He's not UFC caliber. And Benoit Saint Denis, obviously being $1.10, there's a minus 1,050 favorite. There's a lot of pressure on him to finish this fight spectacularly. And do I think he can? Yes, I do think he can finish this fight for sure. But he needs to be careful of Prepolec, because as you can see on the screen, there's 10-0 with KOs. Prepolec has hands. He dropped Austin Hubbard in the last time that he fought in the UFC. And within the UFC, he is 0-2. He's had an 0-2 stint. He got cut. He fought Nordine Taleb, who he lost by a decision, who was 8 years older than him, and then obviously Austin Hubbard as well, which the Austin Hubbard is just a big tell as to why Benoit Saint Denis can seriously win this fight in the right direction. Now, Benoit Saint Denis, where there's a bit of an issue, is, you know, he's obviously like French special ops. He's a guy that just loves a war. And that, you just can't. Not after the Dustin Poirier fight, where he got destroyed. And then Renato Moicano, granted, he didn't actually take a lot of actual brutal hard-hitting damage. He took a lot of cosmetic damage. But he still needs to be seriously careful, because Prepolec, at the end of the day, the guy is slow, but he's got power in his left hand, and even with his right hook, he's got power. He dropped Austin Hubbard with a right hook, and Prepolec is a guy he's got a kickboxing base. He's 10-0 with the KOs, and he's good when he gets into that range and can make it dirty, but aside from that, he's just not good. He's too slow. He's got a reach disadvantage here, and the best chance he's got is against Benoit Saint Denis in the boxing range for sure, because Benoit Saint Denis' boxing defense, like that actual strike defense, is poor. It's like a massive hole in Benoit Saint Denis' game. But Benoit, the biggest way for him to get this done, plain and simple, take Kyle Prepolec to the ground. He's got no ground game. Take him to the ground, out-transition him, and then just sink in an arm triangle choke or a rear naked choke. And I think he's going to be able to do that in the first round. I think it's most likely going to be an arm triangle. Prepolec has been taken out by an arm triangle before, and I think Benoit Saint Denis has gotten arm triangles before, and I'm feeling that one within the first round. I think Prepolec, he's got the chance on the feet to KO Benoit Saint Denis. Genuinely, he does. But yeah, Benoit will just swallow him on the ground, and that's what he needs to do. And if he stays on the feet and trades, genuinely, I hope Prepolec wins. Moving up to Alexa Grasso versus Natalia Silva. The flyweight women's division is cooking on this card, and honestly, I think it's a very underrated division. It's definitely, for me, the best women's division there is, and honestly, it competes with some of the men's fights sometimes with the fighters they have, like Alexa Grasso and Natalia Silva. I mean, Natalia is riding a heap of momentum. She's on a 12-fight win streak at the moment, and she's got amazing taekwondo. She's very strong. She's got underrated grappling as well. It's quite hard to find weaknesses within her game, to be honest. She's very, very good. But on the other side, we do have Alexa Grasso, who has been battle tested without a doubt. She's been in the UFC for longer. She's fought the tougher opposition. And that being said, Natalia Silva, I think she's probably the most dangerous first-round fighter within the flyweight women's division. And I see her taking that first round. I see her putting Grasso in some trouble, especially at that kickboxing range, at that range where she can utilize those legs. Just spinning strikes to the body, heel kicks. Just, she is very, very good on that angle when it comes to being on the outside using taekwondo. Good front leg side kicks as well. Yeah, she is definitely dangerous there, and I think she's just going to outland Grasso. I think Grasso is going to shell up a bit in the first round, but then the second to the third, I think that's where the Mexican grittiness, just the ability that she has within the boxing range. Grasso is one of the most underrated boxers in the flyweight division. And that's where I think where she gets gritty, especially in the clinch, utilizing her strength and then outlanding Natalia at boxing range, because Grasso is definitely better at boxing range for sure. I think just that grit, that experience, and that strike accuracy overall as well for Grasso, I think within that range is going to be the deciding factor here, especially in combination with that higher level experience. I think she's going to get it done, but I think it's going to be a very narrow decision. It could be a split, to be honest, but I'm going to take Grasso 29-28, taking the second and third round. Now moving up to Jose Aldo versus Aiemann Zahabi. Now this is an awesome fight, and like, I honestly love it because Jose Aldo, obviously love Jose Aldo, but Aiemann Zahabi, I'm a very big fan of him, especially since he beat Javid Basharat as like a 6-1 underdog and he won me a lot of money. But aside from that, I do think that he is a very skilled boxer. He is very skilled. He's obviously got a cracked corner. He's got Faraz Zahabi in his corner as well. And that's a big attribution to why he is actually fighting Aldo as well. I think this, honestly, is nothing to complain about. I know a lot of people in the MMA space do not like this fight. I think Aldo is just being discredited, but I think Aiemann Zahabi is honestly a very good fight for him, to be honest. I think Zahabi brings that striking. Zahabi is not going to do a Mario Bautista. These guys are going to strike. These guys are going to trade within the boxing exchanges, and I think it's going to be very entertaining, to be honest. I think it's going to be a very close one, I do believe, but the thing that I've got to say about the King of Rio is the guy's damn leg kicks, man. The leg kicks are going to be crucial in this, because that's the way he's going to be able to disrupt Zahabi's footwork. Zahabi is very, very good with his footwork and utilizing nice jabs, nice uppercuts, good timing with counter-striking as well. Arguably, I'd say that Zahabi's counter-striking is actually better than Aldo's, but Aldo is a bit better on the front foot overall. And I think Aldo just going through the second and third round, especially with the leg kicks paying dividends, I think he's just going to be able to disrupt Zahabi's flow a little too much. And that's where I believe he's going to be able to take a decision. Benefit of the doubt, I think Zahabi might actually be able to take the first round just with how decent he looks within the first rounds of his fights. I think he's just going to have a little bit more output when it comes to the actual boxing, whereas Aldo is just going to have a bit more with the leg kicks, and I think Zahabi's going to take a little more on volume in that first round. But then the second and the third, I think that's when Aldo turns up and he wins that 29-28 decision. Now moving up to the co-main event, we have got the flyweight title fight of Valentina Shevchenko versus Manon Fiorot. Now this is a fight that I am very keen for, which I know a lot of people are just not realistically, because it's a women's fight, but honestly, this is pretty much neck and neck, if not more so, a favorite fight for me over the main event, to be honest, because Shevchenko, obviously love her. She's arguably the women's GOAT. I'm one of those people on that side where I think that she did beat Amanda Nunes in their second fight. I just think that she is honestly one of the best fighters that has just ever lived, and that's proof in the pudding with what she's done with the belts and the title defenses and regaining her belt back. And Shevchenko, yeah, she's getting older, but she is a beast. You know, we all know her kind of style. She's very good with her Muay Thai. She's got nice spinning back kicks, unless it's against Alexa Grasso. And she has got good wrestling. I mean, what she did in the trilogy against Alexa Grasso swallowed her with that wrestling. Did a very good job at tipping her off balance and controlling her. I think she's very good there. But a big reason why I love this fight is because I'm a very big Manon Fiorot fan. I think Manon Fiorot is a freak of nature. I think she is so dangerous. She is... Granted, I understand why people don't like her, because people think that she is quite boring. I mean, she does kind of play it safe a bit more on the outside sometimes and does like to point fight. But when it comes down to it, Manon Fiorot is extremely dangerous. I mean, we saw she just destroyed Tabitha Ricci when she fought her. Chookagian got minced. And then Erin Blanchfield got 50-45'd. Absolutely dominated in that fight, and that's where the biggest problem is for Shevchenko. Manon Fiorot has the pure strength. She is the physically she is the strongest fighter in this division easily. I am extremely confident within that. If you're 50-45ing Erin Blanchfield, throwing her everywhere, and she's not able to get you down once, that is insane. That is honestly ridiculous. Manon Fiorot is also extremely accomplished. Like, she's got a very nice karate base. She's got a karate black belt. She's got a BJJ black belt, which I don't think a lot of people do know, but she is dangerous on the ground. And I believe she also has a judo black belt as well. So she is extremely decorated. She's got problems everywhere, and she is going to be extremely hungry in this fight because this is her first title fight and she's 35 years old. It's now or never for Manon. She needs to put everything into this fight. And Shevchenko, she's always game. She's a good competitor, but she's done everything. She's done it all. And I know these two have beef, which is probably going to light a fire under Shevchenko without a doubt, but I just can't see Shevchenko out-muscling Manon Fiorot. And Manon Fiorot, I think, just especially through the first, second, and third round, the aggressiveness, the speed, and the accuracy that she possesses. And I think with her being able to take Shevchenko down, I think Shevchenko is going to have her hands full, especially through the first 3 rounds. I think that's where Fiorot is going to be extremely dangerous. But then I do believe through the 4th and 5th round, Manon does get a little bit more flat-footed. Manon gets a little bit more flat-footed towards the end of the 5 rounds, towards the championship rounds, which she did against Erin. But that's obviously with her dealing with a lot of wrestling, that counter wrestling. And that's where I think Shevchenko, though, with granted she's getting older, but she's got wealths of experience with 5 rounds. And Shevchenko through 4th and 5th rounds, she always pulls through extremely well. And that's where I think she's going to be able to really put on more of a clinic and get her own rhythm going through the 4th and 5th rounds. But I think it's just not going to be enough. I think Manon is just going to have too much of a fast start to really just outdo Shevchenko. It could honestly be a split, but I'm more confident regardless, honestly, that Manon Fiorot, with that strength, with that hunger, and with those strikes along the outside, with the reach advantage, with both her arms and her legs, I think that she is going to realistically beat Shevchenko by a 48-47 decision. I think it's just going to be a little bit too late for Shevchenko, and I think she's getting dethroned again. And moving on to the main event, we have our Lord and Savior Belal Muhammad versus Jack Della Maddalena, JDM. This is going to be a fun fight. I'm very keen for this one. I love JDM. I mean, I'm Australian. He seems like just a class act, to be honest. His boxing is super fun. Like, he's just a very fun fighter to watch. Not a big personality, but sometimes, honestly, that is better, especially with, you know, guys like Ian Gary and whatnot that have all the voice. Joaquin Buckley, it's kind of nice to have a bit of contrast, to be honest. And then Belal as well, we know that, honestly, he rightfully is allowed to throw shade at pretty much anyone with what he's done, with all the backlash and adversity that he's had. And now he's the champion and he's shutting everyone up. And I do believe that Belal is going to be able to get this one done by a decision. Surprise! I honestly think that he's going to be able to get it done. I think that JDM, like, granted, he is very dangerous. I think when it comes to the striking exchanges, JDM in this style of matchup is more dangerous than Leon was against Belal, because JDM has more of that boxing ability. He has stronger actual hands, so he doesn't have to be concerned about throwing a kick up and then the kick getting caught and then him getting tipped off for a single leg or something like that. That's where JDM's his striking is a bit more defense proof when it comes to this matchup. But Belal is just so well-rounded, and the age is just not affecting him at all. Obviously, there's an 8-year difference between these guys, but JDM is the one that's been less active. He's been out for like a year and a half, broke his forearm, like pretty much shattered it to the point where he thought he was actually never going to be able to fight again. So there's a lot of rehabilitation for him. And then coming into this, a title fight against a guy that puts on a pace. That's where it's going to be, I mean, make or break for JDM, seriously. And I think I do think that JDM is going to get off to a good start in the first round. I think that JDM, he knows, he just loves the damage. Like, he is someone that's going to really push the pace, try and settle himself on the front foot, because both of these guys love being on the front foot. Whoever, it's kind of a forward pressure seesaw fight. Whoever's on the back foot is going to be struggling more. And I think JDM is really going to be able to put pressure on Belal early. I think he's going to be able to push him back a bit, land some good shots. I think Belal is going to use more of a wrestling-based game, obviously, within there when JDM really starts picking up the pace. And that's where JDM, I mean, look, he could have improved it. Obviously, it's been a long time, but I'm sorry, I'm not a fan of JDM when it comes to his wrestling. I'm not a fan. The takedown defense has not been fantastic. If Gilbert Burns is taking JDM down, I'm sure as shit confident Belal Muhammad is going to be able to take him down realistically. It's just about Belal making sure that he can stay safe in positions where JDM can actually transition out. And because JDM has been training with Craig Jones as well. So JDM has got like elite jiu-jitsu help right now. So there are opportunities for JDM, and JDM bloody submitted Craig Jones unconscious, which is not something I thought I'd never see. But yeah, looking at that, Belal's got to be careful of the ground game of JDM as well. I think it's severely underrated, and JDM's got all the momentum in the world. He's on a 17-fight win streak at the moment, and Belal's obviously on a fantastic win streak too. But yeah, Belal definitely does have to be careful there. But moving through the second, third, and fourth rounds, I think Belal's wrestling and just that pace and tempo is really going to come in clutch for him. I think that that's where it's going to be the decider in the fight. I think that he's just going to really press JDM. And JDM, we saw against Basil Hafez as well. That's one of the biggest things we need to look at. Basil Hafez, split decision. Basil Hafez is nowhere near as good as Belal and was able to take JDM to a split decision just off pure wrestling pace. And Belal has got the gas tank to do it for 5 bloody rounds. So that's where I believe that I think Belal, at the end of the day, he's going to be too much. And as we would all think, he's going to get a decision win here. I think he's going to take the middle 3 rounds, second, third, and fourth. And I think JDM is going to take the first, and then I think he's going to almost finish Belal on the 5th. I think he's going to just pull some crazy shit out, some knees, just some really long combinations with the boxing. He's just going to empty his gas tank. And I think he will get that last round and almost take Belal out of there. But then I think Belal, ultimately, too little, too late. I think he's going to get that 48-47 decision. Now, moving on to the Fight Card Awards, kicking it off with Fight of the Night. I've got Jose Aldo versus Aiemann Zahabi here. I think these guys, just with the clash when it comes to the boxing pedigree that they both have, I think we're in for a very nice, high output, nice striking accuracy based boxing fight. I'm very keen for this. As I said, I think Jose Aldo is just going to mix in some more Muay Thai based tools to get this one done, but I think it's going to be seriously fun with all the volume that these guys are going to throw in this fight. Now, finish of the night, I got to go all the way down the card and give it to Bruno Silva. I think Marc-Andre Barriault, like, the guy's chin has just expired. I think Bruno Silva, the guy is super durable, and I believe that he's just got the ability to crack that already cracked chin of Marc-Andre Barriault to spoil the Canadian crowd. Now, moving on to performance of the night, I got to give it to Jasmin Jasudavicius. I think that she's just got a T here to really just destroy Jessica Andrade with that wrestling, that suffocating style that she has. Andrade just doesn't look good at flyweight, to be honest, and she's just honestly slowing down a lot. And I think that this is where she's just going to be a very good performance to Jasudavicius. I think that she's just shown so much improvement in her most recent fights, and I think that she is just going to lay it out for the Canadian crowd and get that submission finish against Jessica Andrade. Now, upset of the night, I got to give it to Ivan Erslan. The guy's like a 3 to 4 to 1 underdog, and he's got the KO power there, and going within boxing range, he is extremely dangerous. And I think that that's where, honestly, Navajo Stirling, I think that he can get tagged within that. Granted, as I said, stayed at kickboxing range, Navajo is taking this fight, but I believe Ivan, with the experience that he has and the power within the boxing, I think he can get it done. Now, fighter to watch, got to give it to Charles Radke. Honestly, I think if Charles Radke can get it done and chin proper Mike Malott in Canada, I mean, you can forget about that Carlos Prates knee. I mean, Charles Radke is back in there, and I think that he can honestly do it. I think his boxing is good. He's hungry. He looked great against Semmelsberger, and Mike Malott's boxing just does not look that fantastic. So there's definitely a prime opportunity for him there to get it done in the opposing crowd, like he did against Blood Diamond in Australia, which I saw him, and he was just riling everyone up. So let's see if he can do it again. Now, I hope you enjoyed this predictions and breakdown video, and I hope you enjoy UFC 315. And if you haven't already, definitely check out my mythical matchups video on a prime Demetrius Johnson versus a prime Davison Figueiredo, the flyweight fight that we always wanted, that we never got to see. I create a mythical matchup for who would actually win that fight. Both of them prime versus prime, which is just on the screen now. And please like, comment, subscribe. It goes a long way for the channel. And I will catch you in the next one.